Hi everyone, it's Denise from Dobby Books and happy Tag Tuesday. So today I'm going to be doing a tag and I'm going to do the one that was created by Robert G. Reader of Books about owning our own bookstore. And yes, I have fantasized about owning my own bookstore. So I'm sure no one else has. Um, this is what Robert wrote. It's time to indulge in a bit of fantasy to imagine owning your own bookstore. In responding to the prompts below, pretend money's not an issue, that you are independently wealthy, but remember moderation in all things. Aesthetic considerations are your only criteria. How fabulous would that be, huh? Okay, so here are the prompts. And I worked very hard not to look at them ahead of time because I want this to really be as spontaneous as possible. Number one, what are the hours of operation? Well, I thought about that. Opening at 8, I think would be too early for those of us who perhaps don't work or are semi-retired. I think 8 o'clock we're still pretty much, if we're not doing our morning walk or something, we're still having our coffee and getting our day on the way. Plus, if you're working, you won't be able to be there. And if you are a stay-at-home parent of some sort, you're still busy dropping off kids at school or daycare or what have you. So 8 might be too early. I'm thinking more along the lines of 10. I think that's a good hour to open from 10. And I think it can be open. I'm going to say till 9, 10 to 9, roughly. That seems like a good window. So it's almost 12 hours, not quite. Okay, 10 to 9. Number 2, is there ambient music and what kind? I think I would restrict the ambient music. It can be distracting for some of us. I would rather play something that does not have words to it. You're just listening to gentle background music that induces, it doesn't put people to sleep, but it is relaxing, yet the kind of music that is conducive to reading and concentration. I can't tell you specifically what kind of music that is, but that would be the general criteria for music that I played. If I chose, that would be the kind of music I would use very low volume throughout the store to give it some atmosphere to the point that you really aren't even aware of it anymore. And I think I would like to have a cafe somewhere in my bookstore. And there I would probably play music a little differently, that would have lyrics, but I wouldn't want it to play at a level that would prove distracting for those outside the cafeteria. So I'm not sure how I would pull that off, but that's what I'm thinking. Is there a coffee bar? Yes. Books without coffee. I mean, do I serve alcohol? Not during regular business hours. I would reserve that for special occasions, visitors, special visitors, speakers, authors, etc. And if it were an evening event, um, perhaps it would be catered, semi-catered. At that, with those things going on, happening in a separate area of the store for guests only at the event, yes, I would serve alcohol, but not as a general rule, no. Are patrons encouraged to linger? Yes. Yes. Just knowing from my own experience, I could spend hours in a bookstore and finding a comfortable chair to sit in, to look through some books, to do some comparison, put a few back that aren't quite what I was looking for, hold on to the couple of ones that are more of what I'm looking for, going back to the shelves. It's important for a customer, I think, to feel the freedom to do that. That's part of the experience of being in a bookstore, I think. Are there comfortable chairs? Absolutely, with little footrests, you know, because some of us like to read with our feet up. I am one of those people. I fidget when I can't put my feet up. It's just a weird quirk of mine. What kind of lighting? Lighting conducive for reading. Are there tables? Yes, I've thought of that. There would be some areas that would have tables. I'm thinking in an area where there would be perhaps 4 chairs, let's say. In the center, I would have like a low coffee table, and I'd put a sign on there, please feel free to put your feet up. People may choose to put a couple of books there next to their feet in order to to sort their books out. That kind of table. I would also want to have maybe 1 or 2 places in the store itself that would actually have a sort of something that would almost look like not the standard square cafe tables that you would find, let's say, at a Barnes and Noble, something longer, like a dining table, small version of a dining table, where up to 4 people could sit, maybe 2. Because sometimes we like to have that kind of space for our books, something more at this level. Whereas when we're dealing with a coffee table type setting, it's lower. And then there's the side table type setting, which is not really directly in front of you, but off to the side. Some of us aren't too crazy about that. But I like this idea of having a small version of I want to say picnic table, but that might not be accurate. Shorter dining room table, but a rectangular shape, not a square shape. So that 2 and 2 could sit at the most and have space to work, because students may come in and they need to spread their things out. So I like that idea. Are there areas for group gatherings? I think that's an excellent idea. I would definitely provide or clear out, not clear out, but I would definitely want to provide an area where a group of people can come and sit. I would have a regular area, whether that's the 4-seater table or a room that has some books in it, but it has sort of the chairs are set in a sort of circular setting, or they can be placed in a circle. I could perhaps move them against the wall. And if people want to meet in a group, then they're welcome to pull those chairs forward and gather around and talk about things. Yes. Because this is a place where we feel we have community. I think that would be a dream. Okay. Is there live entertainment, poetry readings, authors' readings from their current works, lectures and literature? Absolutely. Again, a meeting area. This would be one of those occasions where perhaps later in the day I would cordon off a certain area of the bookstore for those that are going to this lecture. And it's in those cases, it might be semi-catered with alcohol for those who choose to have it, but there would also be the standard coffee and all that others that they can drink as well. Yes, I think that's very important. Local authors, local poets, that would be perfect. Where's your bookstore located? I know that there's a part of the town that I live in, the older part of town, that has gone through some recent renovations, some updates, but it's a pretty busy part of town, I notice, especially toward the weekend. It still looks like a small town. The buildings aren't these 2- and 3-story things. They're still single-story or the older 2-story kind of structures. I like that setting. It's quaint, it's historical, it's near the train station. That's where I'm thinking that I'd want it, on that main street in one of the older buildings, not the newer one that they built across the street. Is the busy heart of, is it in the, no. The neighborhood, old town, Main Street is where I would have it. How does your bookstore look from the outside? If I choose one of the buildings on Main Street, it's going to have an older building look with those traditional windows. So that would be a great place to display some items for the store, and then they can walk in. But if I could redesign it and money was no option, I favor a craftsman style architecture. So something about that, the front of the store would have that. Maybe it may not look, how can I say it? I would add something to the existing structure of the building and the front that would give it that hint of craftsman style. And then when you walk in, of course, the interior would look very much like a craftsman style home. It wouldn't be dark and brooding. I think it would be something that would allow for sunlight. You know, I like sunlight, fresh air. I like that coming in. I think that's something that I would be focusing on. But it can be, and of course, it can be very, very comfortable as well. So, what is your specialty? Used books, new and used, only fiction, only nonfiction, fiction and nonfiction, and does your bookstore specialize in a particular genre? I think what would be distinctive in my bookstore, I've noticed, let's say when I walk into Barnes and Noble, they always have a table that says, you know, book talk, the latest or popular things in book talk. I'm not a book talk person. I'm a booktube person. So I think in my store, I would have a couple of displays at least, and I would choose a particular booktuber and a certain theme. If a booktuber is, oh gosh, if I think, let's think of Criminale, right? The type of genre that he reads, I would ask him for some suggestions. What would he recommend? What are his favorites? If he could put together a little something. And I would put those books on this display table, as well as a display of some sort that would have Criminale's band, his, what do they call that? You know, that when we go on BookTube and it has our little sign on it. Gosh, I don't know what that's called, but his brand on there. I would have something like that, and I would, throughout the year, I'd be choosing various booktubers and base it on what their particular specialty is, their favorites, their recent reads, based on their reviews, things like that. And of course, I would ask each one of them before I do that, I'd need their permission. I would also have display tables for example, in the children's section. I would be going to the various schools in the school district, and let's say for the middle schoolers, I would be asking the English teachers to pick a class, pick one of their classes, and this would change over time because there's more than one English class. Pick one of their classes, not just certain students, but certain classes, the group of students, their favorite books that they've read. And I would display those books on that table and post on there from the middle grade class of such and such school and the teacher's name. I would do things like that. I think I would also have suggestions, not so much by employees, because that's something that I see a lot, employees' suggestions, which are great, by the way. But I would look along the lines of searching for names of locals in the area, regulars who may come to the store. If they want to volunteer to provide some favorites, some suggestions, themes, what have you, if they want to put something together like that, and we would display that on another table. So I would like to do that to get the community, the schools, the individual, you know, the customers that come there, plus my booktuber family. And that would be distinctive about my store, is that I would sell used and new. I know new is more expensive used is more time consuming because you're picking up a lot of books and then you're having to go through all those books and choose the ones you think you may get a good sale from and those that you're not. It's time intensive, and you would make less on those. So I would do both. I would do both because there's always customers who are looking for, who love books, can't spend as much as they'd like to, and they need to find used versions of those same books. I would do that. I want the book to be for everybody. So yeah, I would do both. And I think because of the community I live in, I want to make sure I mention this. I would make sure to have a good selection of books in Spanish. And I would ask for their suggestions and contributions as well. That would have to be also the case. And what's the name of your bookstore? Dobby Books. I think it's a good name. Kind of catchy. Yeah, Dobby Books. And I will tag some friends. I will put your names in the description box. So that's it. That was fun. That was really neato. Thanks, Bob. Okay, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I will see you in a few days. Take care. Bye-bye.